Welcome to another edition of Live Stream Insiders. That is the clock, the little beep on the clock, which says the next 30 minutes we're going to be looking over the last 7 days of live stream news. You've probably just got a notification to your phone, as I have here. We are now live around the world with Live Stream Insiders. It is episode 71. We've got all sorts of content for you again today, as well as Facebook Live. We're going to be looking at some new stats as well, which have come out, and also a couple of really interesting user case studies as well that we've had our eye on. I'm Peter Stewart. My background is in broadcasting for a well-known British broadcasting company, and I've been involved with radio and TV presentation and production, well, frankly, for more years than I care to remember. And Krishna Day is my partner in crime for our regular weekly look at the world of live streaming. And Krishna, your background is with some really big international companies, and also more recently with image production, isn't it? And helping some small and large companies get to grips with their image, both reputational image and actual image.
Absolutely. And you know what I'm really passionate about, Peter, is how we can create content with just this. And I know that's one of the things that brought us together in the first place. But enough about us. Thank you, everybody, for being here in terms of joining us either live or on the replay. And a particular shout out to a couple of audiences that we've been connecting with this week. Firstly, the Dublin Tech Summit, which was an amazing event. About 10,000 people were at that inaugural event. Really quite something to watch out for in the future. People come from all over the world to attend it. And the other one is for those of you who've actually been with me from the PR Institute of Ireland, and we're partway through our social media course. And as you know, we've just been looking at mobile content creating and also live video. So if you're here specifically because of that program, welcome, and we hope to hear about your shows that you're going to do soon. And talking about shows, Peter, there's something that you went to a few years ago, which was the what was called at the time the Periscope Summit, which is coming up this week. And I know that a number of people who actually follow us here will be at that. And it's called Summit Live, which is in the US. But we should just say that we unfortunately heard some bad news this week about the UK Summit Live, which is due to take place in March. And I know that we've actually reached out to the people that were organising that, and it's tough to make a call, and it's a very brave call that unfortunately they didn't get the number of registrants to come to the event this time. I'm sure it's just a postponement, but for those of you going off to Summit Live in the US, I hope you have a wonderful time. I'm sure you've got a fantastic, in fact I've seen some of the agenda that's been looked at, and you and I talked about that, about how they're using live video in the run up to Summit Live to get people prepared for what's going to be coming forward this week.
Absolutely, it is a great shame for Victoria that she'd already changed the location. And to be fair, it did seem quite an eclectic lineup of guests, but certainly a lot of guests and a lot of speakers with a whole breadth of knowledge right across mobile live streaming and also pre-recorded video as well. So that looked really interesting. So yes, I was speaking at the Periscope Community Summit, as it was back then in September 2015, and it's been really interesting to watch over the past few days some of the content that the creators of this year's live stream summit have been putting together to try and engage people as they prepare for that flight and for that attendance, and to be delegates or whether to be speakers as well. And you know what, I still reckon that there's scope, if you excuse the pun, for some live stream training to be done over this side of the pond as well. And Krishna, of course, you were speaking at an event at the Google Business Centre just a couple of weeks ago, which we spoke about last week. And there were, a couple of hundred people in that room devouring every word that you were saying when you were talking about live streaming. And also there was another session there on Snapchat as well. And I know there was a waiting list for that particular event. I find it really difficult to understand why people aren't becoming more and more interested in live streaming. And perhaps we're too much ahead of the curve. Perhaps that's what it is. And perhaps it hasn't quite seeped through to the PR people, the marketing people, the advertising people, whether big organizations and charities and government groups, or indeed to the smaller, more, as they say in the United States, the mom and pop stores, the mum and dad stores, the bricks and mortar stores, the privately owned businesses on the high street, as a way to engage, as a way to advertise, as a way to tempt people through your front door. You know what? My car went in for repair this week, and as I walked away from leaving the car on the forecourt, I thought, you know what? There's still a great opportunity for the people there to be doing some live streams about showing how to protect your car against the winter weather, or how to change a spark plug, or how to check that the tires are the right kind of pressure. Those kinds of things, I think, on a regular basis are more likely to get people through your door, as it happened, SWB garages, than perhaps another garage. But
that's really why we started Livestream Insiders, wasn't it? Our goal here on Livestream Insiders is to bring you case studies. We don't want to sell you anything. We are just wanting to bring you best practice case studies, the latest news, and because we're both advocates of people using live video, it's not the only way to communicate, and we're going to say that because, of course, I'm a digital communications specialist, and Peter is all about traditional media. He works for a huge broadcasting organization, and so we've got some different backgrounds, but that's why we really want to advocate and give you examples, and that's what the show is all about. So why don't we kind of look to our first story, Peter, because there's some updates that have been happening for Facebook, which are not just of interest to people who do regular Facebook video, but actually are particularly relevant for those of us who are using Facebook Live like we are here today, and actually when we have our replays, which turn into regular videos. So perhaps you want to tell people about what's been going on there and what's got you excited or not.
Absolutely. And I know Krishna's got an update to Facebook Live as well. If you haven't spotted that today, Krishna, as always, this is Krishna, finger on the pulse. So that will be coming up in the next couple of minutes. But first of all, let's just run through some of those updates as appertain to Facebook and the playing out of video. And I'd be really interested to see your comments down below about what you think of that big change, and that is about bringing sound to videos in people's news feeds. So I'd be really interested to know whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. So what's going to happen? You're scrolling through your Facebook feed, and you're going to be able to hear the sound. That sound from the different videos will fade in and out as you scroll through videos in your news feed. They say that's going to bring those videos to life. And they also say that if your phone is set to silent, then the sound won't cut through with that. So it's what your phone is set to originally is how it's going to be. And of course, if you never want your videos to play with sound, then you can disable that feature in the settings part of the app. That's number one. Number two, vertical video. Now, of course, there's been a big conversation about whether it's best to go live with vertical video or with horizontal video, or portrait versus a landscape. And now they're saying that the larger format vertical video is going to be available to everyone. That's number two. Number three is what they call watch and scroll. Now, Android people are going to get the best part of this. Essentially, they call it watch and scroll, but it's like picture in picture. So essentially, if you're watching a video, you can actually push that to the side of the screen and continue scrolling through Facebook and see some of the other updates that you want without having that little picture of that live or pre-recorded video disappear completely. So you can browse other stories. Android people, I said they're going to get the best of the bunch. They can keep the video playing in Android even when they nip out of the Facebook app to do something else on their phone, which is really, really good. Entirely sure why that's not coming to iOS. I mean, obviously it's something to do with the settings and the way it's configured and so on. It's a bit of a problem, but also a bit of a shame. And also, update number, what's that? Number 4 means that you're going to be able to see Facebook videos on your TV. Yeah, the Facebook video app is going to be coming to your TV through Apple TV and Amazon TV, and also the Samsung Smart TV as well. So you can watch videos, and even ones that you've synced to watch later are going to be able to be played through your big screen as well. So again, even more reason to make sure that the content, that the quality is absolutely superb. But it strikes me that if you're going to be watching on a TV which is shaped that way, then it's going to make sense to film that way as well, whether it's a live stream show or whether someone is watching that live stream on replay, or whether it was always recorded to begin with. And I know Krishna is very interested in pre-recorded video as well, so I'll be interested to know her views in a few seconds' time, but also your views as well about the sound on or off. And it strikes me that if you're going to be sitting on a bus, or maybe you're in a meeting or in a classroom situation, then essentially, you could be caught out watching Facebook videos if suddenly that sound starts playing, or if you're on a bus and people all around you, or in an airport terminal or something like that, you could have a cacophony of different feeds fading in and fading out from all sorts of people around you. Now, what is the reason that Facebook is doing all of this? Well, essentially, a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, that they want to make sure that all of your apps and all of your devices are controlled just with one switch. So yes, as I say, you can turn that audio setting on or off, but they say it's pretty much like YouTube, but when you tap through to YouTube, you expect that YouTube video to play automatically with the sound on. So why not with the Facebook video as well? That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And whether it be whatever app, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, it'd be governed just by that one simple switch. That's number one. Number two, they've tested it. Of course they've tested it. And the people who tested it said, that's fine, we like it this way. It's good. Of course, Facebook aren't really going to give you something that they haven't tested to the nth degree. So it works for them probably more than it works for you. Obviously, those two situations, those two groups of people aren't incompatible. Also, number three, as well as YouTube doing it, Snapchat is doing it already as well. They leave the sound on by default. So obviously, if the people over at Snap are doing it, then it makes much more sense for the Facebook guys to be doing it as well. Also, it plays into the video advertising. Obviously, Facebook is free. They got to get their money from somewhere. It's by you boosting your posts. It's by them putting adverts alongside your feed as well. And also, it's putting adverts within the feed. And I've just spotted tonight that Matt Navarra is saying that he spotted some in-stream video adverts as well. So you may want to take a look at that. And of course, if there is going to be a pre-roll advert at the start of your feed, then of course people will want that to be unmuted so you can actually hear that as well. 60% of video ads on Snapchat are watched with the sound already on. So that's another reason. Plus, and this is a great thing for me, it has to be said, it'll do away with those pesky subtitles. You know what? When I go out and film, and I can spend, say, an hour filming and then maybe an hour or two editing that film together, which is going to last 90 seconds or 2 minutes. But the worst part of the whole workflow, of the whole logistics, is putting on those pesky subtitles, which I'm obliged to do. Just memorizing a phrase, memorizing a sentence, going in, clicking, tapping, pasting, changing, updating, reworking, and making sure, and doing that every 5 seconds for a 2-minute film can take the best part of a couple of hours, and it's mind numbing and it's awkward and it's pesky. And I know there are some ways around that to actually have it done automatically to a certain extent. You've still got to go back and check, first of all, the spelling, and the grammar. Make sure that the transition is at the right time when people are speaking. So obviously, if you're going to have sound already playing as a default on a video feed, then it may reduce the need for subtitles. Of course, that doesn't necessarily go with a live feed, obviously. And also, I'm really interested to see this about the potential for video soundtracks, because Facebook is pushing hard for negotiations with record labels to strike a licensing deal to allow users to include copyrighted music in the soundtrack to their videos. So that's another reason, and also that's going to be really, really interesting for the kind of work I'm doing as well, to lay some music underneath and to be perhaps paying just a few pence or a one-off fee for music, so you're not chucked out and your video isn't dispensed with when the Facebook algorithms work out that you've got music underneath. And also because it helps adapt to those wireless earbuds that Apple are using, those AirPods. If you've already got the earbuds in, then it makes sense to have your video playing with the sound on. So those are quite a few pretty good reasons why you would expect to have the sound turned on when you scroll through your Facebook feed. However, you know what, Krishna, it still reckons to me, or I still reckon that it could be a cacophony of different sounds, different snippets. There's all sorts of people around you are scrolling through. You've got music and you've got sound and you've got talking coming in and coming out from a dozen or more people around you while you're waiting at a bus stop, or you're waiting on a bus or at an airport terminal, or all sorts of other situations. But you know what, I guess that if there's a big outcry, Facebook will change it back again, because obviously they want to do what's right for you, because what is right for you is also what's right for them. So again, I'll be interested to know your views as you're watching. Sound on or off by default? What is good?
Well, we're getting lots of comments here today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Some interesting conversations going on in the chat. And I think overwhelmingly, we want our sound off. We don't want to hear anybody. And to your comment about having those subtitles, we've actually talked about that a number of times. We've actually done tutorials about those. So what we'll do is after the show ends, we'll put some links there into the show notes. Show notes are available for you. We'll add some extra things to that, because there are some faster ways to be able to do it. And not everybody is paid to do that in the course of their work, as you are, Peter. Some of us are actually doing videos for love. But I will continue to put a little bit of a caption in terms of our captions for the beginning of our shows. We don't caption the whole of the live stream insiders. Yes, there are ways we could do it, but we do this show for love. And therefore, thank you so much for all the hearts that you've been giving us today. So let's have a look at some other things that have been happening around Facebook. And particularly, we actually want to talk about something that I spotted a few days ago. And I don't have my Android phone yet back. As you know, it's a little bit ill at the moment. And so I did see this on iOS. And I'm interested in terms of whether you see it if you're in different countries. So I know this is working in the UK. I think it's working I know it's working in Ireland as well. I haven't asked anybody in the US, and I haven't asked anybody on Android. You might remember a few weeks ago, we talked about an update which was happening within the ordinary Facebook app. If you do a live video, so use Facebook Live within the regular Facebook app, to your profile or your page, you had the opportunity to reverse, to flip, and that was both vertically and also horizontally. Really important, because if you're using the regular mobile app, you'll know that any text that you bring up, let's say it's a book that you're sharing, all of that is reversed out. So you want to change that before you go live. Now, at the time, that was not available within the Facebook Pages app. But let me just show you, it is now. So this is what you're going to be able to see, is right at the top, you're going to want to hit on the little kind of pencil before you go live. So do this before you go live. Then you're going to go down to the bottom, and you actually then want to go to the little cog, and there you see 3 options within the Facebook Pages app. One option is to go in terms of making your switch horizontally. One is to go vertically. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but perhaps you've got a use case you can tell me about where you've actually tried that. And the third one, which I think is really interesting, we talk a lot about the quality of live streams over the time that we've been live streaming for the last year and a half together. And we've been talking about audio quality and also lighting is one of the features. So, I'm actually sitting here today when I've got lights in front of me. And of course, if we're doing live streams when we're outside, then we've got to think about the glare of the sun and how that reflects. And both Peter and I have got, are wearing glasses. So we try our best to reduce the glare there as well. But the feature that's now available is actually the ability to change the brightness. So I just encourage you, if you're actually using Facebook Live on your Pages app in the next week or so, test that out, see how that works for you. And particularly if you're going to share anything in terms of words, you don't want to have that actually not able to be read. So mirror that, reverse that around. It would be great if that was a default and you haven't got to remember to do that, as Periscope make that change many, 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 many months ago. But it's good to see it, and I'm really pleased that there's something there to actually help control brightness. But tell me, is anybody seeing that in the app on Android? I'm just having a quick look through, and I actually can't. So Patricia's saying yes. If you're in Australia, they might want to do the vertical flip. And yeah, Patricia, I won't tell you on screen about what happened to my Android. Yeah, that's meant for a conversation privately. My husband might be listening.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
So I'm not going to tell you that. But yeah, tell me, if you've got an Android phone, do you see that option yet? And those of you, let us know later on if you're in the States, or if you've got a second device, or you're watching us on desktop and you've got a device in front of you. Can you see this now, this new update? So I think that's great, and it's excellent that we continue to make changes in terms of Facebook for us here. So that's my little update for what's been going on in terms of on Facebook. I think that's a great update, though, for those of us who do mobile live video.
Okay, well, thank you, Krishna. And Krishna's back with a fantastic case study in a few moments' time. I've got a few stats to bring you, first of all. Boy, oh boy, is that the time? We've only got 8 minutes to go, boys and girls. Let's crack on. What are the most popular live streaming platforms in the United States? We've got some stats out from businessinsider.com. We don't actually have a slide for this, but I'll hold something up in a few moments' time. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter. Yes, well, you kind of expected that kind of order, but what about the actual percentages? Well, Statista have put the stats together, and there's no dominant leader. According to their survey, 17% of people who responded to the survey said they watched live video on Facebook in the second half of 2016. How much of a difference do you think that is beyond YouTube? YouTube is number 2. Facebook is number 1. What's the differential between them? It is just 1 single percentage point. Boy, oh boy. And that's just 5 percentage points over Snapchat. And perhaps one of the most interesting things is that 36% of people who responded to the survey said they watched live video in the first place, and that is down, it's taken a dive of 2% from last year. Let me show you the actual graph that we've got here that shows you those stats, and I think it's really interesting also the differential between those two, or between those top 3, and also look and see where Twitter and Periscope is as well. That's not very good news for those guys, is it? But as we've said before, those people tend to be using Twitter and Periscope in different ways. And I don't know whether you spotted it there, but the blocks 4 and 5, Periscope and Twitter, both on 9% here. Why is it they've divided those up? I didn't think there was so much of a difference between Twitter live video and Periscope live. Why would they divide those up? Because if you put those both together is 18%, and that knocks the socks off Facebook, and it actually comes top of the charts, top of the pops. So I'm not entirely sure why they've done that, but interesting to look at nonetheless. Before we go back to Krishna, got a couple of other stats to bring you. The best performing videos, not necessarily live videos, but of course a video is a video once it ceases to be live, are within a user's feed on silent mode. And how long, Krishna, do you reckon the best performing video is? How long? What kind of duration are we talking about to be best performing?
Oh gosh, I've no idea. No idea at all.
15 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, 15 seconds. Now, of course, a live stream could be anything up to 4 hours or indeed longer. Most live streams, I would have thought, at least were, what do you reckon, the average length of a live stream? A good 15, 20 minutes, I would have thought. But these kinds of stats are from campaignlive.co.uk. And it strikes me that you could use these stats if you are cutting down your once live stream into various chunks. Yeah, so just taking a particular nugget of a phrase or a sentence or something to put out again on Twitter or Facebook at another occasion. Tips for better in-feed videos, they say. The first 3 seconds do not need audio to capture attention. It's the third time tonight we've been talking about audio in videos. In-feed videos viewed in the morning are more likely to elicit a feeling of personal relevance. Who knew? Videos with an early story arc are 58% more likely to be viewed. Topical content is 32% more likely to be viewed and leads to an 11% higher completion rate. Hope you're making notes here, you marketing people. The presence of a human being in the first 3 seconds is 133% more emotionally intense. Oh, my heart, be still. Text or subtitles stimulate left brain memory response. Videos with text are 11% more likely to be viewed and have a 28% higher completion rate, and dialogue is more effective than music at driving relevance, emotion and memory. Not necessarily live video, but of course live video is video when it ceases to be live. We'll post the link later. Those stats from campaignlive.co.uk.
Really interesting to see and hear about that. You know, it doesn't surprise me about the feature of the person being actually really important in terms of that connection, because that's the same with advertising. All the best practice on Facebook ads is put people into that video, or that image for that Facebook ad versus your logo. Of course, unless you're a very well-known organization who's got a notable logo and people would really very much recognize it. Okay, so a couple of quick things from me. How many different ways have you got to connect in terms of having online meetings, and particularly with online video? I have got a whole host of apps on my phone and on my desktop, and we've got another opportunity as of this week. Of course, what am I talking about here? Something that some of you may have already tested, and that is Amazon Chime. Not Amazon Prime, Amazon Chime. And you're actually able to test this out for 30 days. They then have a free version thereafter, and also they've got a couple of other paid options that you can actually have a look at. One is from $2.50 per month. That's per user per month, and the other one is $15 per user per month. Now, I personally haven't actually tested this out yet, and I don't think I'm going to have a look at it just at the moment, because I actually have so many other ways that I can actually have online meetings, which I'm actually really happy with. I will put it on my list to explore. Now, if they brought out live video with it, it would have been on my list to test sooner. But definitely you might want to explore it. You can download, as I said, 30 days free. I'm guessing it still works for those of us in Europe. I haven't come across anybody in Europe that I know in my network that's tried it as of yet, because I know sometimes we can't get things to download, but it works on all devices as well. So that's one of the benefits. And of course, you know, you can actually have a look in the show notes. We've got all the links there, including links to the Amazon Chime pages on their website in terms of how it works. and how you can get started. Okay, so one thing that I actually do want to bring attention to is because I love to have a look at case studies, and this is one that's taken place this week. You know, in fact, it actually happened today. You can catch the replay if you wish to over on Facebook. This is an interesting brand because one of the big areas that actually has been really very different in terms of digital communications in the last number of years is fashion. And this is Topshop. It is not the first time that Topshop have done this. But what have they been doing? Today, they actually had a live stream which took place, it was on their website, and it was also simulcast over onto Facebook as well. They did a good job in terms of promoting it. How did I come across it? Because I'm actually on their mailing list. So I got a notification about it over on my mailing list. They also use their social networks to promote it. So you can see here an example of a tweet that they sent out. You went over to their page, which is what I did, and they had a nice promo video that was going. So it was really interesting as a marketing case study. But importantly, they actually were driving you to do something else. And this is what they've done for the last number of years. You could shop the look. So not everything, but some things that actually were being featured in that live stream, you actually could go ahead and make a purchase of after the show had ended. Think about how you could integrate your live video to whatever you want people to do. Do you want people to opt into, let's say, your newsletter? Do you want people to actually come and give you a donation? Or do you want to have an opportunity for people to make a purchase? And we've seen that happen. We've talked about that many times on the show. And I just wanted to give you a little example, particularly as this was a European example. And we love to bring you European examples here on the show. But saying that, I heard that your clock went off there, Peter, and I know that we're keen to always make sure that we try to do the show within 30 minutes. And so I don't know if you have got any final thoughts for us in terms of for the show this week and for our viewers, and thanks everybody for joining us and watching us here.
That's about it. Thank you again very much indeed for watching and for taking part, and really appreciate all the comments. And we've got a few love hearts floating across the screen, which is always nice to see as well. So thank you very much indeed for watching. That was episode 71. So we'll be back in 7 days' time to bring you another review of some of the top stories from the week ahead, which of course by that stage will be the week behind us, if you see what I mean. And you know what, this week, as in every other week, we've got so many other stories that we prepare, that we rehearse, we've got slides for and information on and links to, that we don't have time to bring. So sorry about that, but all of the links from all of the stories that we have mentioned and more besides will be available soon after the show, courtesy of Krishna. Wherever you're doing it, thank you for the loan of your eyes and your ears. Wherever you are on planet Earth, have a fantastic 7 days.